Hey y'all, what's up? Bill here. I hope you have your Tylenol. I really do with this one. Basically, my brain started going off last night at work. I was with a coworker, and he's Christian. I don't know if he's really hardcore, but he believes in God and everything. And he's I don't want to say he's hardcore, but he's really Christian. Nothing wrong with that at all. So my brain went off. I don't know where it came up with this question. So I asked him, basically, off just, did Adam and Eve create the caveman and woman, whatever? That's what you want to call them. I know they have many names over centuries, different types, different levels of cavemen. But I'm just going to say caveman just to cut it short. And he looked at me and he thought about it and all he said, I don't know. And then I went around the shop and I asked a few other people, and they gave me the same answer. They thought about it. I don't know. And then I texted a friend, a couple of them, asked them the same question. They had their theories and came to the point that they all said the same thing. I don't really know. So, this is basically what I think, in my opinion. This is why I'm asking you guys, because I want to hear your theories and your opinions. Just don't go crazy with it. You can quote the Bible, but don't quote paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs. I want to hear, this is your thoughts and your opinions, all right? So this is the way I see it. Lucifer went to Eve, talked to her into her eating the apple. She gave the apple to Adam, and then God threw them both off for disobeying him, and they're off in the wilderness by themselves. But every picture I've seen, a story I've read, they seem like they were intelligent, and whatever language they spoke, so they had intelligence, right? So they went off, and there's two things that I read where they lived to be 900 something years old. That's a long time to live. And they had kids. One story I read, they had like 1,000 kids. One I read where they had 100 kids. And the one I read, they had 24 sons and 23 daughters. Okay, so I'm going to use a few words that people don't want to hear, but it's basically the truth, and then it's the only way for the population to grow is with incest and inbreeding. Now it's totally not allowed and you shouldn't do it ever. But back then it was acceptable and had to be done, I read somewhere where Cain or Abel took a wife and happened to be their sister. Who else is it going to be? But let's say they had so many kids, and their kids got together, and with the inbreeding, a lot of things get messed up, So, no matter how smart the parents were, let's say, because Adam and Eve are probably intelligent from everything I've seen and read, but then something started happening, and the more kids that were produced, basically the stupider the people became. Which, if you had so many family members and you couldn't keep track of them, this line went this way, this line went that way, and that's the only way I could see that cavemen could have been made, I know it sounds wacky, and people sitting back going, that's not the way it happened, but then you explain to me where the cavemen came from. If you believe they came from monkeys, that could explain it too. A line came up and it split, and humanoids were created. Monkeys' DNA went the other way, because I think we're like 98% the same DNA. That's what I read. I don't know if it's true or not. Or did we come from the fish in the murky water that changed and grew up and became humanoid? But if the whole Adam and Eve theory stands up, we went from really smart to really stupid because so much DNA got mixed up with the same, changed the brain and everything else. And with the lineage moving that way, they didn't really get a chance to teach the kids, or teach the kids maybe about fire, clothing, housing, and stuff like that. I don't know. I know it's messed up and it's out there, but in another theory or story I read was that everything was fine until, I won't say everything was fine, but God saw how things were messed up because of all the inbreeding and incest, that He made the flood happen. But then in some humanoids were survived because of caves, probably deep caves where the water couldn't reach, and that's how we got cavemen. Which that seems logical, But then picture yourself, Adam and Eve, okay? And you're sitting back and you're watching your kids grow, and you're watching your kids, I guess, coming together, and you're not really, you really couldn't make a big deal about it back then. You were just thinking this is the way things are right now. You can't use the same mind frame you have right now. You have to use their mind frame. Like, none of this is wrong. It's all natural. This is the way life is. And you're watching your kids grow up. And then you see the change start happening. You see how kids are your great grandkids, how, or your kids, I don't know. It's still great. Is it still great grandkids or whatever? I don't know. And you can see the change happening. Nothing you can do about it, okay? Because this is the way life is back then. But they're sitting back, let's say they're like 800 years old, and they are watching how, oh man, I don't know how to put it. Like, this is a change. They see how the kids are different, okay? And they really can't do anything about it. What do they do? Let's say, okay, you have kids, right? And they get old, whatever. And the kids have kids, okay? And they get together with their brothers and sisters, I guess. And they have kids. And then you're watching those kids grow up, and they can see something that's just not right. And what do they do with them? What do they do with the kids that they could see that things were not working out correctly, I guess you could say. I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that they sat back and they watched this. There's no way they could miss it. You know? Sorry. So, that is the only way I can see that, yes, Adam and Eve created cavemen. Now, we don't know, well, I guess they would know, from all, I guess, the skeletons they find, that their brains were probably bigger, I guess. The foreheads are out here more. But would that cause them to have bigger brains and not use them as much? I don't think they really know. Well, they know that, they probably know by the things they have. They can make tools and stuff. But what if they could talk, you know? What if they communicated, but I guess you can only guess how they talked, right? That's what I'm thinking. Every caveman you see, they're just making noise and grunting, but what if they could talk, you know? In their language or whatever. Their parents probably taught them, you know? And then they taught their kids, the kids taught their kids, you know? They've got to have had some kind of intelligence, you know? It just messed up. And then, what happened to Adam and Eve's line, you know, bloodline? What happened to that line? If they had so many kids, and if those kids were together, and yes, well, the DNA wouldn't, I guess the DNA would become stronger, wouldn't it? Because the same blood line is still combining. So, let's put it at 100, okay? 50 boys and 50 girls through the whole 900 something years they were alive. So what happened to that bloodline? Well, people would say, well, we're all part of that bloodline. But I'm talking about the raw bloodline from, let's say, Cain and Abel, I think was the first couple of kids they had. Where is that bloodline at? It's messed up. I'm probably not explaining it right. If I'm not, I apologize. But I'd just like to know what happened. Is the word I'm looking for raw? I don't want to say the real bloodline. I just want to say the original. Is that a good word to use? The original bloodline of Adam and Eve? Because that has to exist somewhere. I know now that our blood types and people are mixed so much that you really can't say, unless you're really born, let's say, like with me, I'm Irish, Scottish, German, and Native American. I know I'm Native American because we have a big old fat history book. But most of my family is German. So what are the other three? I know where one came up with. Scottish and Irish. I don't know where that came from, but we're mostly all mutts. But what if, because of all the incest and inbreeding, the main line from Adam and Eve still exists? Where are the ancestors to Adam and Eve? I mean, a straight line. It's like, I don't know if it's a straight line you want to call it. That's what I'm just wondering. Because there has to be people out there that are actually descendants of them. As much as the blood mixed, the same blood that's mixed, you know? Well, then what happens, let's say third or fourth generation mixed together, or what if the third and sixth generation mixed in? It's still the same blood. So all that would do is reinforce DNA. So where is that bloodline? You know? I don't think we'll ever find it. But it'd be kind of cool just to know. I don't know. This is just me thinking. It's like, where did the brains go? I guess you want to say it. I don't want to say the cavemen were stupid because people say, yes, they did because their brains are so small, they never used them. Okay, that's fine. But still, Adam and Eve had some intelligence, you know? And if they did live the 900 years, then they put that intelligence into their kids. But when did that intelligence stop? When the brains didn't evolve? Everybody says, well, God had a hand in it then. So did God de-evolve Adam and Eve's kids, I guess? I don't know if de-evolved is the right word for it either. You know? I really want to know what you guys' thoughts and comments on them. I'm not trying to talk crazy. I'm just trying to go from the caveman back to Adam and Eve, and that's the only way I can figure out or understand where the caveman really came from. You know? I know, I'm just trying. It's just a thought in my head that went crazy, and now I'm here talking to you guys about it, so. I don't know. It's just crazy that if they did come from Adam and Eve, and they did live 900-something years, it's like, did God kill all their kids off with the flood? Because that's what I read. It's like, he didn't like the inbreeding or incest, so he brought the flood and wiped out everybody. Well, tried to. But then let's say he did wipe out everybody. And then we have Noah and his wife and a few people on there. I think he brought a few more people on the ship. Boat, whatever. And now, isn't that kind of a messed up thing? Because then they had to do the same thing that Adam and Eve did, you know, to make the population grow. So the whole flood thing doesn't make sense because all he did was make people start over from the way Adam and Eve started, you know? Excuse me. So it's just messed up. Like, he tried to fix something, but all he did was cause the same thing to happen. I know people don't like looking at it like that. They don't want to think about incest and inbreeding. But that's the only thing that we have to fall back on. So maybe he thought that maybe they'll do it right and better this time with different people. But these people had to have kids. And if these kids and these kids got together, then the DNA wouldn't go together, wouldn't get messed up. But you gotta think, though, that, I don't know. Did Noah have kids? I have to look that up. So it may not have happened with the inbreeding with Noah's crew, I guess you want to call them. Maybe it didn't happen. If enough people were on there and they had kids, and this group, these parents, and their kids got together, so. But still, it could have happened still, you know? I don't know. I just want to know what you guys think and let me know. And because it's just driving me crazy with the whole caveman thing. The caveman could have existed before Adam and Eve. Maybe. I don't know. All right. Just let me know what you guys think and have a good conversation going on. This is just my thoughts. Crazy as they are. Because it was bugging me last night. Alright. Y'all take care, and I shall talk to you all later. Bye.